Well, good afternoon everybody. As you can see, it's such a lovely day, and because I've got the evening to myself, I thought it would be almost rude not to have a play on the bike. So today I'm going to fit the suspension units, so let's see how we get on. Welcome to video 5. So I have loosened off all the nuts and bolts, and I have precariously got it balanced on my new motorcycle jack like this. It should be quite safe, providing you recognise its limitations and don't go waggling it around. So let's put that back up here, set this up, and we'll make a start. Let's have a look. Where are you? Over there. Okay. So what I'm intending to do, having loosened off the top and bottom suspension bolts, I will then lower the bike down so that the weight is taken by the ground on the back wheel. So let's do that. Okay, that seems to have taken the tension off the bolts, and now hopefully there's a nut fallen out there already and gone in that slot. Well, that's helpful. Okay, so hopefully we can now take everything apart and resting things there in place. I haven't done the front bolt to the chain guard, so that's something we'll have to come back to in a moment. So you can see the top bolt is now out, and we'll just gently ease that away without putting the bike under too much wobble. I say gently ease that out. There we go, that's one. There is a bush there. I'll keep that just in case, because I'm not sure whether that's part of the suspension or part of the bike. So let's keep all those out for a minute, keep an open mind. So we do the same on this side where it's now loosened off because there's no weight on it. That's the top one out. There we go. Whoops, that'll be the bush. We'll take those bushes and leave them here while we decide what's happening. Now, I have forgotten to do the front chain guard bolt. Let's have a look and see if we can get that off. Okay, so okay, that's loose. Thank goodness you haven't got to watch me struggle with that. So there's the old chain guard. You can see the hacksaw where he's cut it round the suspension and round the height adjustment. Don't like that. So you will remember from video number 3 or whatever it was, my last one, you did watch that, didn't you? That we have a direct replacement but without the notch. So let's get that started. We'll keep that here. and throw that over the hedge. So now if I jack the bike up, I should be able to get my 13 inches centre to centre and then start reassembling. Not sure how I'm going to get this nut on here. Not sure if I can get the nut out of there. One thing at a time, eh? Have my trusty Harley Davidson accessory twig. Okay. And there we go. So everything's off and ready. So let's now start jacking the bike up. Let's move that out of the way for a moment. So you can see that the wheel is resting on the ground still, and we're increasing this until we get to our 13 inches. I have decided to put the suspension units one adjustment forwards, and on that side one adjustment backwards. This is because to increase the preload you need to wind this outwards, so I thought rather than having it in a place where you need to wind it into the spokes, that's going to be difficult to get to. So I shall put one down and one up. Small detail, may not look exactly symmetrical, but hey, we can live with that. So that will go in the top first. It looks like the bushes are, these bushes here are for the other unit. It's obviously a universal adjustment according to what size bolt you have, and you can just add spacers to suit. Whereas this goes directly straight in the frame. I'll see if I can get that in. Okay, so that's a little bit, the frame has been crushed in, so it won't go. So what I need to do is just give it a little tweak. Okay, I have an adjustable spanner, so if I crack that down to the size of the frame webbing, I should be able to just ease that out without pulling the bike off the stand. Okay, let's try that. That is there. I'm just easing both sides just to like a millimetre at a time. Because this little web is not straight, so I'm trying to do the nut up as much, the adjustable as much as possible to pull the web evenly. It's more than I wanted. I'm having to open it too much to get it in because it's dented at the back. Let's see what happens. It should easily pull back straight once it's in. I try not to push too hard because I don't want to push it off the stand. Okay, that's not going. Still need to go a touch more. Right, let's try this again. Okay, we'll pause that for a moment, otherwise you'll be getting bored. So, it's now 2 days later. What have you missed? Well, I spent the rest of the evening easing out these suspension supports. They were curved inwards where they'd crimped against the aftermarket suspension units, and I had to bend them outwards enough to get the suspension unit in, and then put a big bolt in to crimp them back together to get them parallel. And you can now see in a second, where have you gone? I'm not very good at this, am I? That they now slot in there quite nicely, giving a fairly parallel fit there, which is how they should do. And likewise at the top, there's a ditto there like that, and you can see that they fit in quite nicely. And once the nuts are all done up, Bob's your uncle. So then yesterday I spent going to local Harley Davidson dealers, which is Wars in my case, because I don't have any AF nuts and bolts, and it would be nice to have the correct bolts anyway because the other ones were too short. So this side I've put together loosely. The bolt on this side here was 2 inches long, and the correct bolt is 1 3/4 inches long. So this has given me considerably more clearance. It's not tightened up yet, but by the time it is, there will be that clearance between the two nuts. Also, I have not had to hacksaw. Where have you gone? I have not had to hacksaw here, but I do have the chain guard resting against the suspension unit, because between the gap between this point and the chain is only about 8 or 9 millimeters, so this has to sit in a very narrow gap. Goodness knows why they haven't made that 1/2 inch wider. No one would even have noticed it, and you wouldn't have had to mess around like that. But however, there it is, it's going together. I notice now that the swinging arm is down, the chain is considerably slacker, so when you pull on it you can see I have a lot of stuff to take out, but that'll be tomorrow. So what I'll do is I will put together the loosely here, and then you probably don't need to see me tightening up the nuts, but let's have a look. So let's put that last one in. Put you down here so you can see what's going on. And there we are. How's that? Can you see all right? Jolly good. So we can see here that this will all now fit together nicely. Just a question of slotting in the correct size bolts, he said. Actually, no, I'm going to change that. I'm going to turn that round so that I've got the adjustment on the outside, as before discussed. Right, get in there, you little monkey. And that one can go there. So, whoopsie. There we go. Okay, that's excellent. Let me grab a quick ratchet. You know what a ratchet is, don't you? It's like a large mouse shit. Here we go. So I'll do this up to sensibly tight Newton meters. I don't think it's whether there's a specified torque, I don't know, but A, it's a nylock nut, so it ain't going to come loose, and B, the purpose of the nut, as far as I can ascertain, is purely to stop the pin or the bolt from sliding out. So it's not actually doing any work other than to keep the bolt in place, the pivot pin. So I think that's fine like that, and I'll do a quick ditto at the top. I think that's still, I think the web is still bowing in where it's all been bent about. It doesn't feel nice, but I think I'll live with that. And then this side, let's see how we get on with this one. This was the pig. I don't know how this is going to tighten up yet, because if you remember, had all this clashing, and even now this is resting against the suspension unit, which I don't like, but it's better than cutting a hole in it. I'll just quickly show you. Just quickly show you the chain guard has two large grooves cut through it, there and there, where the chain has been rubbing, and has almost completely gone through the width, or the thickness rather, of the metal. And it was only a few more miles before that cut that completely, and then goodness knows what happened when the chain picked up on an edge and would have smashed it all up into the front. And it's also been rubbing all across here. So probably just as well that I did decide to do something about it. So I found, after doing some research, that the nut on this particular bolt, the original nut is actually a half the depth of a standard nut. So it's, instead of like this, when you look at the pictures, it's actually only about that deep, so it's like almost like a little lock nut, but still with the nylock ring in the top to hold it. What I've done is I've taken a standard nut and put it on the grinder, put a pencil or a right for all pen around and put a line as a guide, and then ground down to half thickness. So the gap now at the back between the two nuts is considerably greater, and I'm much happier with that. There's no way that that's going to touch now, and there is, as I had originally hoped, a good 4 or 5 mil clearance. So let's pop this top nut up. Yeah, that's good. I like that. So there we have it. Where did I get up to with that one? Yeah, that's good. So we can see now that that looks a lot better. The thing left to do now, which I'll probably do tomorrow because it's getting past my dinner time, the chain where the swinging arm has dropped down a lot more, the chain is now very slack. So tomorrow I'll do a short video as I find out what's involved in adjusting it. I need to go back and read the workshop manual to see if it should be on the prop stand or with some weight on the saddle, or what it should be, before I do that. So there we are, that's looking a lot nicer than the black ones. It is getting, as I alluded to before, let's just take this camera clip off. As I alluded to before, it's becoming debobberized. This is not by choice, it just, I didn't like the way things were put together, and you might as well buy the right things as the wrong things. So I've gone for as near original as I can. So yeah, it's losing a bit of the style, but equally you could say in the future it might be worth some more money, because most of these Ironheads, as far as I can tell, get chopped up and made into custom bikes. So if I keep a standard one, in say, who knows, 10 years time, it might be worth a few shillings. Just a point of interest here, which I've mentioned before, but you can see now I took the petrol can off to give me more access around here. And there's the bit of rubber sheet, and I've just cut a hole around that nut head, which is now flush with the rubber sheet, so it doesn't cause any damage to the petrol can, which I'll put back on in a minute. So I think pleased with that overall. That's gone together quite nicely. I'll get it out tomorrow. I'll take it off the stand and get it out tomorrow and have a look at the chain, and we can see what it all looks like. Okay, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.